My name's Ava, 24 years old, and until last month, I thought I had the kind of family people envied. Every Sunday dinners, shared laughter, text chains full of emojis, all of it felt real. But sometimes what looks perfect is just a filter over something empty. It started on a Wednesday afternoon at work. I was finishing a 12-hour shift at the cafe, running on caffeine and stubbornness. The smell of espresso, the hiss of the steamer, everything blurred together. Then the floor tilted and the world folded into black. When I opened my eyes, there were white lights above me and a voice saying, "Ava, can you hear me?" I was in a hospital bed, IV in my arm, monitor beeping. The nurse told me I'd collapsed from exhaustion and dehydration. They'd called my emergency contacts, my parents, right away. Hours passed. No one came. Not mom, not dad. I kept checking the door, waiting for that rush of relief when I'd finally see them walk in. Instead, the nurse came back, brows knitted. "Honey, we called twice. No answer." I laughed it off, trying to believe there was some mistake. Maybe their phones died. Maybe they were driving here already. But the longer I waited, the smaller I felt. Like the world had quietly moved on without me. I texted my sister, "Wheela, I'm in the hospital. Can you call mom?" No reply. So I opened social media, just to distract myself. That's when the screen filled with her latest post, her smiling at brunch with friends, captioned, "Family time with my favorites, plus hearts." My stomach twisted. I stared at that photo until the edges blurred. She'd seen my messages. The little seen checkmark glowed beneath them. And still, she posted that. I don't know what hurt more, the fall that put me here, or realizing I wasn't even a thought in their day. I replayed every moment I'd been there for them. Rides to the airport, birthday surprises, long phone calls when they cried over things that barely brushed them. And now, when I needed them most, silence. The nurse adjusted my blanket and whispered, "Sometimes people show who they really are when you can't stand." I smiled weakly, but inside I was unraveling. Because deep down, I knew this wasn't just about one missed call. Something bigger was happening. Something I didn't understand yet. When the doctor returned with my test results, his face carried a look that wasn't just clinical. "Ava," he said gently, "we need to talk about your medical records. There's something unusual here." My pulse spiked as the monitor beeped faster. I didn't know it yet, but that conversation was the start of everything unraveling. The truth about my family and about who I really was. The doctor stood at the foot of my bed, a clipboard in his hands, expression careful. "Ava," he began softly, "your blood work shows a few discrepancies we can't explain with your chart." I frowned. "What kind of discrepancies?" He hesitated before answering. "Your file says you have type A positive blood, but the sample we just drew came back O negative." The words didn't sound like a big deal at first, but then his eyes met mine, serious and searching. "That's not something that changes, Ava. It's genetic." I blinked at him, a slow chill running through me. "So, my file's wrong?" He said, "Possibly, but the hospital database pulled your information directly from your previous records, which means the mistake didn't happen here." I tried to laugh, but it came out shaky. "So, what are you saying? That I'm not me?" The doctor's expression softened. "I'm saying there may be a mix-up in your history. It might be worth asking your family if they know anything about it." I stared at the blanket bunched in my hands. My family. The same people who hadn't answered a single call. The same sister who was busy posting pancakes and mimosas while I lay in a hospital bed. I said, "Sure, I'll ask them." But when he left the room, the silence pressed in like a weight.
I pulled out my phone and opened the old family group chat, the one that used to buzz every morning with jokes and pictures of our dog. My last message read, "In the hospital, please come." 2 great check marks. No reply. I typed another one. "There's something weird in my medical records. Please, I just need to talk." I watched the typing bubble appear, then disappear. And that was it. I closed my eyes and memories flooded in. Mom holding my hand through childhood fevers. Dad cheering the loudest at my high school graduation. All those moments that built the illusion of safety, now dissolving like smoke. The nurse peeked in. "Your vitals look good, Ava. Get some sleep, okay?" I nodded, but sleep didn't come. My thoughts looped back to that blood type, to genetics, to family. Could the doctor be wrong? Or had my life been built on a lie I wasn't supposed to discover? I finally opened Lila's social feed again. New photo, same brunch table, same smile. But now I noticed the caption under it, a throwaway line that hit me harder than anything else. Sometimes letting go of people is the only way to stay sane. I read it over and over until my throat tightened. Was that about me? Had I done something to deserve being erased? Or did they already know something I didn't? Something that made them pull away before the truth surfaced? My monitor beeped softly beside me, each tone steady and calm, the opposite of my heartbeat. I whispered into the room, to no one in particular, "Who am I really?" And somewhere between that question and the hum of the machines, I decided I'd find out, even if my family wanted the truth buried.
I couldn't stop thinking about that blood test. O negative. It echoed in my head like a song that wouldn't end. The kind of thing that should have meant nothing, but now it meant everything. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the hospital blinds. I sat up slowly, clutching my phone like it might suddenly bring answers. No messages, no missed calls, just silence. My family, once so loud, had vanished completely. Before discharge, the doctor gave me a copy of my records. "If anything seems off," he said, "talk to the hospital administrator. Sometimes these things trace back years." Years. The word felt heavy. I made my way down to the administrative office, a quiet hallway filled with file cabinets and soft humming lights. The woman behind her desk looked up from her computer and smiled. "Can I help you, sweetheart?" "I just need to verify something about my records," I said, trying to sound stay. She typed my name, brows lifting as the file appeared. "Ava Brooks, born August 21st, 1999. Parents listed as..." Her voice faded, her eyes narrowing slightly at the screen. That's odd." "What?" I asked, my chest tightening. She turned the monitor slightly, showing me 2 different entries. "It looks like your record was merged with another child's profile years ago. There's an original file under the name Ava Carter. Same birthday, same hospital, but different parents." I stared at the screen, my pulse pounding. "Carter?" She nodded gently. "Could be a clerical issue. It happens sometimes. But the merge date was 17 years ago. 17 years. I was 7 then, old enough to remember birthday candles, school friends, my mom brushing my hair before picture day. But not once had I heard the name Carter in my life. "Is there any contact listed for that file?" I asked quietly. She hesitated, then shook her head. "It's sealed, probably private adoption or family court protection." Adoption. The word hit me like a physical sound, loud and impossible to ignore. I thanked her, left the office, and stepped into the hospital courtyard. The air was cool and bright, filled with the faint smell of coffee and spring flowers. Everything looked normal, but I didn't feel normal anymore. Back home, I scrolled through my photos, family vacations, holidays, 1,000 smiles. Were they real or just rehearsed moments built around a lie? My thumb hovered over Mom's number. I wanted to call, to scream, to beg for an explanation. But then I remembered her contact photo and remembered the empty hospital room, the unanswered calls. I couldn't do it. Not yet. Instead, I called Mrs. Lawson, our old neighbor, the kind woman who used to babysit me when my parents worked late. Her voice cracked with warmth when she picked up. "Ava, honey, it's been forever." "Hey," I said, forcing a small laugh. "Do you remember anything strange about when we first moved in? Around the time I was 7? There was a pause. "Oh, sweetheart," she said slowly, "I remember that summer well. You were such a quiet little thing at first. It took a while to come out of your shell." "At first?" I repeated. "Well, yes. You just arrived. Your parents said you'd been through a lot and needed stability." The world seemed to still around me. "Arrived," I whispered. Mrs. Lawson sighed softly. "They loved you, Ava. Don't doubt that. Whatever happened before you came to them, they only ever wanted you safe." I thanked her and hung up, my heart a tangle of relief and confusion. They loved me, but they'd lied to me too. And now I had proof. A sealed record, a different name, a past I never knew I had. As the sun dipped behind the houses, I whispered to myself, "Ava Carter." It sounded foreign, but familiar, like a song I'd forgotten how to sing. And somewhere deep down, I knew the only way to move forward was to find out why they hid the truth.
The next morning, I couldn't stay in my apartment any longer. Every corner, every photograph reminded me of a life I thought I knew, but no longer recognized. I needed answers. I rented a small car and drove across town to the records office, the place Mrs. Lawson had hinted at years ago. Rows of filing cabinets and shelves filled the room, the air smelling of paper and ink. I need to see any information about her. The clerk's eyes flicked up at me, polite but cautious. "Why?" I hesitated. "I think I might be her. I need to know who she was, who I really am." After a long pause, she nodded and pulled out a small, faded folder. "This is confidential, but you might have a right to see it." My hands shook as I opened it. Photographs, letters, medical notes, a timeline with child I didn't remember being. And then a letter, yellowed and creased, addressed to the person who had adopted me. It spoke of love, fear, and a promise. Keep her safe. She's ours now, even if the world doesn't know it. My chest tightened. Tears blurred my vision. This wasn't abandonment. This was protection. Somebody had risked everything to make sure I was loved, cared for, safe, even if it meant hiding the truth. But questions remained. Why hadn't my parents told me? Why block my calls when I was in the hospital? The folder had a phone number, scribbled in faded ink, and a name I didn't recognize. Clara Mitchell. The clerk watched silently as I dialed it, heart hammering in my chest. A woman's voice answered on the third ring. Calm, warm, slightly hesitant. "Hello?" "Hi, my name's Ava," I said, voice shaking. I think you might know about me, about my adoption." There was silence. Then, "Ava, I've been waiting for you to call." She asked me to meet at a quiet cafe, away from the bustling city streets. When I arrived, I saw her. Clara Mitchell, mid-50s, kind eyes, a soft smile that felt familiar without explanation. "You're finally here," she said gently. "I wanted to tell you everything before anyone else did." We sat across from each other, tea in hand, sunlight streaming through the window. Clara spoke slowly, deliberately, making sure every word landed. "Your parents did what they thought was right. They loved you, but they were scared." "Scared?" I repeated, gripping the cup like it would keep me steady. She nodded. "When you were born, there were complications, a rare blood condition. The doctors warned them it could be dangerous if anyone outside the family knew. So they hid me," I whispered, feeling my chest tighten. "Not hid," Clara said softly. "Protected. They wanted you to live a normal, happy life. They thought revealing the truth too early could put you in danger." I thought about the hospital, my parents' silence, my sister's post. The hurt rose again, sharp and raw. But why ignore me when I needed them most? Clara took a deep breath. "They didn't expect you to collapse like that. They panicked. They wanted to handle things privately. It wasn't cruelty, just fear." Tears streamed down my face, part relief, part heartbreak. Everything I felt, the rejection, the anger, the confusion, now had context. Pain mixed with understanding. Clara reached across the table and held my hand. "You are loved, Ava. By them, by me. You were always loved." For the first time in days, I let myself breathe. The truth didn't erase the hurt, but it gave me something stronger. Clarity. Some secrets are buried out of love, not hate. And now I could start putting the pieces together, on my own terms. I left the cafe that afternoon feeling strangely lighter, the city streets humming around me. Tomorrow, I would visit my parents. Tomorrow, I would finally ask the questions I had been too afraid to ask, and hear their side of the story. For now, I just held on to the fact that someone had waited for me to find them, and that was enough to start healing.
The next morning, I drove to my parents' house. Every turn in the road felt heavier than the last. My hands gripped the steering wheel as if holding on could keep me steady. When they opened the door, I saw this shock in their eyes. Guilt, fear, and something else I couldn't place at first. Mom's lips trembled. Dad's hands were clenched. "Ava," Mom whispered, voice breaking, "we didn't know how to tell you." "How could you ignore me when I collapsed?" I demanded, voice shaking with every word. Dad swallowed, then exhaled slowly. "We were afraid you'd be angry and scared. We wanted to make sure you were safe first, without anyone else knowing." "Safe?" I repeated. "Safe from what?" They took me inside, sitting across from me at the kitchen table, the same one where we used to celebrate birthdays, but now heavy with unspoken truths. Mom held my hands. "Ava, 17 years ago, when you were born, there were complications, a rare condition. The doctors warned us that if anyone outside our family found out, it could affect your treatment. We wanted you to grow up normally, without fear, without shame." I felt the anger and hurt building inside me, clashing with the relief that I wasn't abandoned out of hate. "So you just lied, erased me?" I whispered, tears rolling down. Dad's voice cracked. "We didn't erase you, we protected you. Every decision we made, every time we didn't answer, it was because we were trying to keep you safe, even from ourselves." I remembered Lila's post, their silence, the hospital room. The betrayal was real, but so had the love they hid beneath it. My chest ached, a mix of sorrow and understanding. "And now?" I asked quietly. "Why tell me now?" Mom's eyes glistened. "Because you found out on your own, Ava, and you deserve the truth. All of it."
They told me about Clara Mitchell, about the paperwork, the merged files, and the adoption secrecy, about the sacrifices they made to keep me safe, to give me a normal life. And slowly, painfully, I began to see it, the protection beneath the lies, the love beneath the silence. We spent hours talking, tears and soft laughter weaving through our words. They admitted mistakes, I admitted my anger, and together we acknowledged the bond that had always been there, hidden but never broken. By evening, the sun had dipped low, casting golden light across the kitchen. For the first time in weeks, I felt a weight lift from my chest. The truth had been heavy, but now it was freeing. I hugged my parents tightly, holding on longer than I ever had. It wasn't perfect. It would never be perfect, but it was real. And for the first time, I felt whole again. Later, I sat by my window, looking out at the city lights. My phone buzzed. A message from Lila. It read, "I'm sorry. I didn't know. Can we talk?" And I smiled softly. One step at a time, we would all heal. Some secrets are hidden out of love. Some silence is protection. And sometimes discovering the truth is the first step towards forgiveness. I whispered into the night, "I understand now. I am loved, and I will never forget it." And in that quiet moment, I finally felt like I was home, in every sense of the word.